Greetings. Recently, our Servant Leadership Council met to discuss plans for one day reopening our facility for public ministry. If you're like me, I know that you can't wait until that day comes when we can safely gather again for ministry. It's been great connecting by Zoom and virtually in other ways, but boy, it'll just be so wonderful to be together again. I'd like to share with you an update of some of the discussions that we have been having. We have been framing these discussions with three levels of consideration. The first, naturally, is what are we allowed to do by the Commonwealth of Virginia? Second, what are we capable of doing with our facility? And third, what are you willing to do? Which is why we sent out the survey recently. Well, just a brief review of what we are allowed to do. The Commonwealth of Virginia has allowed churches in Northern Virginia to reopen starting this weekend at 50% capacity, as long as they can maintain 6 feet of physical distance. Also, some of the other aspects that are encouraged is, for example, for people to wear facial coverings as they come to worship, no singing because that is the way the virus is spread, no passing common elements. For us here at OTCC, that would also mean no in-person Bible studies, no children's ministry on Sunday, also no in-person table groups. Our commitments, and I'd like to frame this in really what are we capable of doing, and our commitments to you in order to maximize our capabilities. So when we reopen, we will only do so when we can maintain the highest standards for health and safety. So we want you to know that we are working on this on a daily basis, and we have a lot of work to do. For example, just a little bit of the work. We want to replace interior doors with handles that are touch-free, so you don't have to touch a doorknob before opening a door. We also want to replace our soap and paper towel dispensers in restrooms with touch-free dispensers. We're also, we have on order multiple hand sanitizer stations to place all around the facility. As you can imagine, we're waiting for those. There's going to be a pretty significant punch list of items we want to do. If you would like to volunteer to help us, please sign up at oldtown.cc/volunteer. A couple of other things to think about as we reopen one day. We are also going to try to establish one-way traffic patterns for arrival and dismissal so that people aren't passing each other closely. Initially, we will close our education and office building and only open our sanctuary building. This helps us manage the ability to keep the facility clean and safe. We'll also be regularly deep cleaning and disinfecting the building. And so there's what are we allowed to do, there's what are we capable of doing due to some of the unique dynamics of our facility. But you have also spoken, and what are you willing to do? You know, we asked the question in the survey. You responded in an incredible way. We received over 100 responses to the survey, and we've listened to you. And so just a real quick summary. I won't read all of this data. You'll be able to get this online. But when it comes to returning to public gatherings, 13.9% said you're going to be there on the first Sunday. 16.8% said you're going to be there the first Sunday, but with some concern. A few of you said, hey, you're not going to return until a vaccine is developed. Over almost a third of you said you're going to be fine participating online for now. And almost a quarter of you said we'll wait additional weeks before you attend service. And so you can see there that the overwhelming majority of our folks are not ready to come back for public worship. You also said, here's what you'd like to see happening in the community before returning, and that is almost half of you said the number of COVID-19 cases in the DMV has declined significantly, and that's something that we're keeping an eye on. What precautions do you plan to take? Many of you said, and I'm glad you did, that you plan to wear a face mask when you return. Others said also maintaining 6 feet of distance, avoiding physical contact. You can read the list there, and this is helpful for us as we consider how to reopen again. And you also expect us to have the building ready and have the building safe, to limit handouts like the bulletin. Don't pass the offering plate or communion trays. Discourage the shaking of hands and so forth. Don't offer Bible studies in small rooms. This can be hard for people to think how they maintain their distance in this way. Would you attend a table group or a Bible study in person? Almost a quarter of you said yes. 3/4 of you said no, not at this time. Your comfort level for attending a large gathering. Some of you said, man, you'd love to see the sanctuary filled. Most of you said half full is fine. Some even said a quarter full is what your comfort level is. And really, the big question here is, which scenario would you most prefer? Almost 17% of you said for OTCC to resume public gatherings as soon as possible. 65% said continue our online worship ministry and maybe occasionally gather outside. And 18.8% said not sure. So if you do the math there, 82% almost or 82% plus of people are just not ready to come back for worship. Thank you for your participation in our online worship services. You see there how many people are watching every week, and this is encouraging, and it helps us to know that we are, even though it's virtual, staying connected. So here's our plan for now, and it's to pursue the following key commitments. We will continue to offer meaningful ministry online and by phone. Gospel ministry has not and will not stop. We'll continue to pursue ways that we can engage our community on mission in an appropriate manner, both now and in the future. We may not be gathering publicly for ministry, but our facility is still being used to feed the hungry. On Wednesday mornings, it's curbside pickup through Open Table. We're also looking for other ways we can bless our community. We will be actively monitoring the threat level of COVID-19 in our community. This is a key indicator of when we believe it will be safe to return. And we're absolutely committed to the health of our church family and our community. And we're committed to being even more agile as a congregation. So for example, sometime in the next weeks and months, we may be able to reopen together and to be able to worship together in a safe way. But then in the fall, if this virus returns, we're going to have to go back to the way we are now. And so rather than saying this is when we're putting the stake in the ground, what we're saying to you is we're going to be agile as a congregation. We're going to develop the ability to be flexible and to respond in the ways that is best for our church and best for our community until this virus is completely under control. We are committed to preparing our facility for reopening at some point in the future, working daily and weekly on the different aspects that will help us do so in a safe way. And we will provide at least 2 weeks notice before we reopen and publicly gather. So that's our commitment to you, is we're not just going to say one day, hey, we're opening tomorrow. No, we're going to give you 2 weeks notice before we do. And boy, what I want you to know more than anything is we're committed to you. And we love you and we miss you. Now, I would like to ask you to consider the support of the church in a couple of ways. You can see in that slide, I love that slide. We're still changing our banners out. We still have the Easter banner. I'm not ready to take that down this year yet. He is risen, and then the banner beside it, stay strong. We're continuing to try to project, even in this way, a positive experience for our community. But let me ask you to continue to pray for your church. God is working, and God is going to continue to work to lead us into the new future that He has for us. Pray for our leadership as we consider how to safely gather again. Pray for our wisdom and pray for discernment. Continue ministering to each other and reaching out to people who don't know Jesus. Like I said, gospel ministry has not and will not stop, and you're a huge part of that. Please remember the church as you consider your financial support. Thank you for your support thus far. We ask you to continue to remember us and remember the ministry in your giving. And also, please call on the church. If you have a need, we are here for you and we want to help you. We're so grateful for your participation and for your ongoing commitment to the church. Indeed, we are in this together. And one day we will gather again publicly and celebrate all that God has done through this time, through His church that He so deeply loves. Thank you, and God bless you.